want to revisit the topic of these. And the previous video I did it against these. And there's two things I want to correct. Because one, I have been diving more, and the other one is that I think I attacked the topic in a bad manner. I think I missed a point. I want to redo this. Okay, so first off, sure, this and these gloves fills the same purpose and have the same job. So far, it's correct, but I wouldn't say these are substitutes to one of each other. You don't buy this alone. That would be very wasteful, and there's way better solutions. Sure, I have been diving with this unplugged at rather cold temperatures, so this keep you warm is rather thick in itself, so it's not a bad glove in itself, but I think these Hestra Colorfill are a little bit warmer in itself. But here's the where you cannot simply make a comparison. You cannot plug this in. That's the point with this. That's why you get them. So sure, you can compare whether it's warmer with or without the electricity. It's very subjective if it's worth the money, which was the question I asked myself. Was it worth it? But I didn't see the whole picture. This is a system of things. It's not merely a couple of gloves. What it is, it's more like is the heated vest, is the battery, is the gloves, and you have a full, kind of like undergarment already. So I had I don't remember what the name was, Pro Ocean or something, a 200 milligram undergarment. 200 grams Pincelet is kind of a summer garment in Sweden. In other countries it might seem as much, but in Sweden it's a little bit light. So I would say that the system of the whole keeping warm didn't occur to me as necessary, because I did 30 dives a year maybe or something, and most part not in the winter. So it was like, oh, fun diving in the winter. It's like a fun thing. So freeze your ass off. You don't do it often anyway, so it doesn't bother you. But when you get to like 40, 50 or more dives a year, and from January to December and back, and keep a consistency, you start to feel that, is this worth it? I'm cold. I don't enjoy diving in winter when I'm freezing. Then the first thing I did, obviously, was getting a warmer undergarment. I changed to the Fourth Element Halo 3D. They don't really measure in Pincelet, but they say about 400 or 500 milligrams of Pincelet. So that's a proper winter garment. You can probably go with a Santi BZ400 or a, what's that name? Weasel Extreme. Looks like a sleeping bag. Is very bulky. I like the Halo because it's very non-bulky. It's very slim, and it's good. And I even use that at summer. I don't change to like summer and winter undergarment. I have 400 the whole year round. I think it's good. I use it now when it's 20 degrees Celsius. I use it when it's 10 degrees Celsius, and I use it when it's like 2 degrees Celsius. It doesn't really matter, because when you have a 200 milligrams, when you're near the surface and you get some 18, 20 degrees, it's like warm and nice. But when you go down to like 30, 40 meters or down, even worse, down, I don't know, 70, 80 meters, I don't go that deep, but others that do, then they probably feel that it's getting rather cold there. Then it's like in the autumn or in spring, or even in like a winter temperature, sometimes down there at the bottom. So I don't see a problem with a winter all year kind of suits. But still, that worked in 4 or 5 degrees, but when it gets to 2 3 degrees, then it's really, really cold. That's when this come in. And that's when it's getting worth it. So, okay, this is the second thing I want to talk about as well. The first, I said it was very subtle and it wasn't like the heated vest. That's true, but it is noticeable. Here's the thing, that all the wiring is on the backside. This you want to be able to have flexibility and be able to work with it. So I understand why they don't have any wiring on that side. However, it makes this side warm. So if you put it like this, you feel, oh, it's warm. But on this side, you don't feel it as much. So that's the thing. I don't know if its wiring would be a good idea on the inside, but maybe they could have just a tiny little bit more juice into it so you get a little bit warmer, so you feel more warmth. But then it would drain the battery because I have a 24 ampere hour battery, so that's as large as I could find. And I think it's worth it because whatever you do, that one have a good chance of accomplishing the mission. If you have a vest and the gloves, or if you have a long dive, which require a lot of time underwater where you have to be warm, if you have deco and stuff. So you notice it, but you notice it more on this side. On this side, you don't feel it as much. That's why it's probably also being a little bit more subtle, because it's not necessarily the whole. Sure, if this getting warm, this one will be affected, of course. And if it's a cold water, then a glove, then this. So that maybe counteracts on one side, but this side doesn't get the same heat. But the thing is, this keep you warm, but when you getting cold, this doesn't generate anything. This just keep you naturally warm. This has at least some artificial warmth that keep generating warmth. Even when you getting cold, this keep on generating artificial warmth. So in that sense, it make sense to have this, that it keep on, even if you getting colder, and this keep on generating warmth. I think it's like when you think at the cost of the battery costs, I don't know, 10,000 Swedish crowns. Let's see, $1,000 something. I don't know what that would be actually in dollars, but just to make it easy to translate. And the thermal valve to the dry suits you can use everything is like 3,500 crowns. So that would be like $350 perhaps. This probably like $250 or 2,500 Swedish crowns. So then like 3,000, 2,500. That's about 6,000 and 10,000. So about 16,000 Swedish crowns, let's say, or $1,600. So when you already put that much use in it, isn't it worth it just for the comfort? You know what I mean? So that's why I think this is a bad comparison, because this is cheap, easy. This is a complex tool in a wider context. So I think it's worth it when you had a need for it. Otherwise, it's not. And maybe that was obvious from the beginning. I just had to realize why you have this. I was diving without my own dry suit. I had a higher one because mine was at service, and then I dove at cold, really cold, 2 or 3 degrees, and I didn't have heated vest, heated gloves, or anything. But then when I get my dry suit back in a thermal valve, I had heated vest, I had gloves, and then I felt like a world of difference. Then I could actually be in these 2 or 3 degrees for quite a long time and don't really bother. And I was like, oh, it's such a big difference, and including these ones. So at that, it made difference. But when I tested last time, I tested in like 5 degrees, 7 degrees, and then these are sufficient. So this maybe didn't show how good it worked because I didn't need it. So then it was like warm, warm, whatever. I could go with either one. But when it's really, really cold, I prefer this one. However, you know, cables, they can easily break. I don't think I have broken any, but I had to buy a new one because I lost it. But I think I found it when I was cleaning up, so now I think I have a spare. However, my thermal valve on one of the suits have stopped functioning, so these things tend to, need a little service here and there. The battery maybe, and I think definitely the connections. I don't know what the English word for it, but we use etika. It's like an alcohol kind of solution where you can put, so try to get some of the corrosion and stuff off the brass or whatever metal it is when you put in the contact that won't affect the connection. So this costs a little bit more, needs more service. Well, these don't need service at all. You just buy a new one or they're working. So that's obvious, but so it needs a little bit more service. It needs a little bit more maintenance. It's a little bit more expensive, but when things add up, you do this because of you simply needed something more than this. After a while, you notice you're getting cold. You need heated vest. After time diving in very cold water, maybe you realize you need more airflow, so you take off the cuff seals, or maybe you even, I don't know what the word would be, but you kind of put the gloves and the suit together. They kind of weld it together totally without any seals or anything. You just weld it together. So whether you have a ring system with a seal cut off, so you get a lot of air, so you do those kind of stuff eventually because you notice that you need all things that you can get, because 2 or 3 degrees Celsius are not really, it's a hostile kind of environment. So I think it's very, you're always gonna get cold. So it's not like this will erase the problem, but this definitely will make it work. You can probably be down double the time if you have a proper system. It's not just one thing. It's the Halo 3D, this the Santi Heated Vest, the Santi Gloves, the Ammonite battery. It's the cuff seals, a good sock, and a good undergarment. I have J2 undergarments that wicks the moisture away, so I'm always been dry. Then I have the Halo, and also the heat vessel. It's many things. So that's the thing, that there's no simple solution to this. So I hope this kind of made more complex kind of explanation of the gloves, whether it's worth buying or not. So I would say that if you do dives frequently at winter and go down beneath 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, I think it's worth looking at. So when I start to use this a little bit more often, I really felt that this make difference, even if it's more warm on this side and maybe don't translate as much to this side. It's still noticeable. And whether it's a little bit too soft, and you maybe would be, be a good compromise to maybe, you know, make it a little bit stronger, I wouldn't mind it. But as I said earlier, I don't know how much that would affect the battery time. If it takes too much use, then it's fine as it is. So with my new kind of, what do you call it, review of it, I think that I give it a better review this time and put it more into a proper context.